A senior Labour MP is taking the controversial step of proposing a new law to legalise abortion on request for women up to 24 weeks into a pregnancy. Steve Chadwick, a midwife and former Associate Health Minister, is gauging support for what would be the first changes to the abortion law since 1978. Her bill would take abortion out of the Crimes Act, making it solely a health matter. Last year there were 17,550 abortions in New Zealand. Well, a supporter of decriminalising abortion is the national president of the Abortion Law Reform Association of New Zealand, Dame Margaret Sparrow. Now, the way it stands at the moment, a woman must get approval from two specialists before an abortion is carried out, but Dame Margaret says this too must change.
We don't think that the certifying consultants are necessary. It's an expensive system. It costs about $5 million a year to employ the certifying consultants, and it denies women the right to make the decision about their abortion. And the certifying consultants have to fit the woman's request into the grounds for abortion. And what we find in New Zealand is that 98% are done on the grounds of mental health, which really makes a mockery of the grounds in the Crimes Act.
Because in your view, a woman should be able to, in good health and mind, make a decision about whether or not she should keep her baby.
Of course, and with respect to consumer rights, we have the ability to make an informed consent about medical procedures, except in this situation.
Well, because it involves another human life. That's the argument, isn't it?
Yes, but it's also a matter of balancing rights, because there are certainly rights for the life of the child or fetus, but there are also rights for the women.
Well, how do you balance those two rights then?
Well, that's the difficult balancing act, and I believe, and Steve Chadwick believes, that the only person who can really make that decision, because she has to live with it, is the woman herself.
Critics would say that changing the law in this way creates abortion on demand. Is that what you're aiming for?
I don't think abortion on demand is really the correct term, and Steve Chadwick has used the term abortion on request. After all, you don't go to the...
What's the difference, though? What's the difference between request and demand?
Demand means that there's really no discussion. A request, I think, means that there will be a consultation, as there normally would with any other medical procedure.
But there are fewer hoops to jump through. What protection is there for a woman who perhaps isn't in sound mind and says before 24 weeks or up to the age of 24 weeks, I want an abortion? What happens? Does she just get one?
No, I think once again the doctor will pick up the cues and the doctor will be quite used to dealing with requests like this. And
but this is a hope, isn't it? This is a hope that the doctor would pick up on any frailties that she has. Whereas if you have more boundaries in place, if she has to jump through more hoops, see two more specialists who actually are trained in noticing these sorts of things, then there's better protection for her, isn't there?
I don't think so, and I think that the experience with our legislation shows this. That there has been, in fact, a steady rise in the number of abortions with the system in place.
So what's your central point?
I think that the law is out of date. It's done us well, if you like, for over 30 years, but it's really creaking at the seams now, and it's time that we looked at our law and devised a better system for women.
Abortion Law Reform Association President Dame Margaret Sparrow speaking to me earlier. Well, joining me now is Bernard Moran from the pro-life group Voice for Life, which is opposed to the proposed law change. Thanks for joining us, Bernard. We've had the same law for decades now, as Margaret Sparrow says. Isn't it time for a shake-up?
Well, the current law is definitely flawed. but it was a sort of compromise of two opposing, situations, if you like. The reality is, the way it works is a woman who wants an abortion can get one up to 12, including 12 weeks, that's what happens. The certifying consultants don't have to see her, and they effectively just rubber stamp. They collect their money. It's very lucrative.
So it's actually very easy to get
It's
very easy then to get an abortion.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
What's wrong with Steve Chadwick's proposal?
The main objection that we would have is that, and invariably, and we're talking about the 24 weeks, that's a fully developed baby. Well, it's, almost fully developed baby. It's about this big, and it involves the woman. It's a prostaglandin abortion. She has to give birth. She, goes through labour, and the law that she's proposing actually treats that baby just like a chattel. It's like a nothing. The present law, for all its faults, it does recognise that there's a human person involved.
Yeah, but what difference is there? I mean, the specialists, just as you say, they don't even need to see her. They can just say, yep, go ahead, do it. So what protection really is there for that baby, one way or another?
There really isn't. There really isn't, although it's much harder to get abortions at 24 weeks.
OK, so what's the compromise then? You say you've already compromised, there's already been a compromise between the two sides. You don't like this proposal. What is a reasonable compromise?
Well, what we would like to see, and the Health Commissioner has now said that women have the right to be offered the opportunity to view the ultrascan of their baby. OK, so we believe from overseas experience that's going to make a big difference because it actually gives the woman accurate information.
Do you mean made to see it?
No, offered. So they offer her the opportunity.
Okay.
Every woman has an ultrasound scan to determine the correct gestational age of the baby.
OK, and
right?
you think that could make a difference to her decision. What else do you think needs to happen?
There needs to be a lot more effective counselling. Now, we have the late Diana Mason. She delivered thousands of babies for single mothers, and she said to give a woman an abortion straight away was absolutely medically irresponsible because she said over time they change their mind, and often they're really in difficult situations and they can panic. And she said time and proper counselling makes such a difference. So we would like to see a huge improvement in counselling.
OK, so
this is not, it's not impossible. It can be done.
OK, so you are saying that, let's be realistic, there are going to be abortions. It's not a matter of saying no abortions whatsoever. It's finding a middle ground that everybody can be happy with. Because, of course, critics of the no abortion debate would say that you'd be putting the well-being of the fetus ahead of the child's life. Yeah,
we're arguing, look, there is a better way of doing this. It's not impossible. With goodwill on the part of the medical profession, there are much better alternatives available, and they're feasible.
That's great. Thanks so much for that, Bernard Moran from Voice for Life there.